Hi, everyone. Thank you. So this is an amazing crowd. Thank you so much for organizing this Istanbul and Yabancı. Um, First of all, I will love to start by household chores. Before I do that, let me introduce myself. My name is Melis Abacıoğlu. I am the founder of Kızlar Sahada. Kızlar Sahada is a social enterprise. Yay, I know. Maybe some of you have heard of it. Maybe some of you have played with us. But basically what Kızlar Sahada does, it's called Women on the Field. We basically take girls and women of all ages to the soccer fields to play with us soccer. We do that in order to encourage everyone to, jump over the gender stereotypes and make something possible that we've been telling ourselves that maybe we can't be doing. So that's soccer. Kızlar Sahada currently operates in 14 different cities across Turkey and empowers over 500 young girls between the ages of 9 and 16. So that's a little bit about me. I will be the moderator for tonight. It's such an honor to be here. First of all, this meeting is being recorded, so if any of you have any issues related to having your camera on at the moment, maybe this is a good time to turn off your camera if you don't like to be recorded for any reason. And number two is our good friends at Yabancı, Tarık, has kindly asked me to send all of the questions to him, and he will send the questions over to me. So if you could, if you have a burning question, it would be perfect if you could send them to Tarık so he can revert them to me. So tonight we're here for Grassroots Feminism in Turkey. Amazing women are with us right now. The idea is to give you a spotlight on women's rights in Turkey and to celebrate International Women's Day. You will be listening to several different NGOs working in terms of advancing women's rights in Turkey. And we would love to thank, first of all, the organizers of this event, Istanbul and Yabancı. Maybe a couple of words about them. Yes, I know. Istanbul is a youth volunteer community. They organize social impact initiatives. They support disadvantaged and displaced communities in Istanbul. And there are over 250 volunteers from different backgrounds that come together to empower the youth in this city. And Yabancı. Yabancı is an English resource and community platform for Turkey's diverse array of internationals. There are also globally minded locals that refer to Yabancı a lot. They've been active, they've been around since 2012. Yabancı would be very happy if you guys use their over 2,000 articles or attended one of their community events just like this one. So starting with them, I would like to now maybe start with our first guest, Professor Dr. Fatma Gül Berktay. Hello, Fatma Gül, are you there?
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Before I give the microphone over to you, I would like to introduce you first. Fatma Gül is a political science faculty from Istanbul University. We're so honored to have you here. I didn't add that. That was in with once a professor, always a professor. So she will be giving a wonderful backbone to this event, actually, by giving us a good history of women's movement in Turkey. And she will also tell us a little bit about the present situation, as well as adding to that, with current work done by the platform for women's equality, Eşik in Turkish. So I believe that will really get us ready for the discussion, for the sharing for tonight. Thank you so much, Fatma Gül. It's over to you.
Thank you so much for this introduction and for having me here. So hello to everyone. Now, when my young friends asked me to join this conversation, they said we're mainly interested in how we ended up here, right? So I'll have to go into history, but before doing that, I must say that where we have ended up has both its positive and negative aspects, and both sides should be taken into account. Well, gender inequality, as all of you very well know, is a long-standing problem all over the world. And it's only in the late 18th and 19th centuries that it began to be questioned publicly, even in the West, that is. Of course, before that, there were individual voices and protests, etc. But as I said, they were mostly individualistic. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on the women's struggle for emancipation and the vote in the West, but let me say that it was only achieved after the First World War, just with a few exceptions in the late 19th century. Anyway, in Turkey too, women have been waging a notable struggle for equality since the mid-19th century. And they were trying to redefine their citizenship ties to the state as more autonomous and equal individuals. The struggle of Ottoman and Republican women, I must stress, is not unique, not sui generis, and it's not disconnected from women's history of struggle in the West either. So I hope a comparative approach may induce the questioning of a self-centered feeling of uniqueness for both sides, the West included, but I'm not going into that. Now, discriminating cultural practices, of course, exist in every society in varying degrees, and they reflect the deep-rooted patriarchal attitudes. But, you know, in the general opinion of the people in Western societies, these patriarchal cultural practices are deemed to be restricted to the East, to the particularly the Islamic world. Now, existing stereotyping in the West defines other women as disadvantaged vis-a-vis emancipation, very obedient, subordinate, and repressed, irrespective of diversity among them. I mean, and I'm stressing this. Well, obviously, this is not the case, or at least not the whole picture. And I can give you lots of examples from the Western history as well. But now, you know, to cut it short, I'm going into the Ottoman Turkish history. If you have any questions afterwards, you know, we can dwell on the Western side as well, right? Now, akin to the struggle carried out by the Western women against inequality, exclusion from the public domain, and deprivation of the right to vote, with the demand to be autonomous individuals and citizens, occurred in the Ottoman society too, but of course with differences. And we owe our knowledge to this process and the visibility of the women originating the Ottoman women's struggle to the new feminist movement that developed under the effect or influence of the second wave of feminism in the world, and women historians who are disciples of this movement in academia. If it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't have known about the existence of the courageous women in Ottoman society who raised their voices, demanding essential equality with men, published more than 40 magazines for this purpose, established several offices, foundations, associations, etc., held demonstrations to be allowed to work in public offices, and subsequently gained the right to work in the Ottoman Telephone Administration as early as 1914. And again, we wouldn't know that women sitting in their own segregated classrooms in the university, boycotting their classes and going into men's classroom, sitting there, and thus starting mixed education in Turkey. This was in 1920, before the Republic, right? And now, unfortunately, there is talk about establishing women's university after 100 years of mixed education experience. Anyway, we know that the Ottoman society was based on the Sharia law, the Islamic law, and the most important thing about this law was that it denied women entering the public sphere freely. So Ottoman women's demands and their dreams were all about entering the public space, being equal citizens. This is very, very important. As I said, in as early as 1868, for example, women were demanding full equality with men, and they were asking, are we not human too? Is it only because of our sex that we have lagged behind? You know, this is 1868. And lots of women's organizations and journals, etc. But to cite one of them, which is the Woman's World, which is just very openly feminist and uses the term feminism and defends it. They were even asking men to give up their desire to liberate women and leave them to their own, because women have their own more subtle ways of defending themselves and their kind. You know, there was all these debates going on there. Well, after the First World War and the Liberation War, women demanded to be full citizens in return for their sacrifices. I mean, this was their discourse in the war. And this was more or less the same justification used by Western feminists and their male allies, you know, when they were asking granting for suffrage. So, you know, we are sacrificing a lot, and now we are mature enough, in quotes, so now you can give us, or you can give them, women, voting rights. So in Turkey, just in 1923, just before the People's Republican Party was established, women demanded, or they applied to establish women's People's Party. But of course, they were not authorized on the grounds that women were not granted political rights yet. Anyway, the Republic has made lots of advances in terms of women's rights, abolishing the caliphate, secularization of education, adoption of a civil code in 1926. That's very important because now women were allowed to enter the public space. Their 100-year-old dream was becoming true, which is very, very important. But of course, this civil code of 1926 had still its biases, patriarchal biases. For example, designating the husband as the head of the family, relegating the wife to his helpmate, etc. And the explicitly patriarchal clauses of this 1926 civil code was only to be amended in 2001, which was one of the major achievements of the women's movement. But again, I should say this 1926 code should not be underestimated too, because if it weren't for those legal reforms, the second feminist movement couldn't be come into its own as well. And of course, there were lots of gains for all women, concrete legal gains for all women, and especially educational gains for middle-class women and professional gains or opportunities. But of course, in all societies, deeply entrenched cultural mores, sexism, and patriarchy prove strongly resistant to change. We know this. And without such a change at the cultural level, success of law as an instrument of reform will be inevitably limited. And so in Turkey, despite all the legal and administrative reforms, gender roles in the family and in the larger society remained little changed. And it was precisely these traditional gender roles and patriarchal attitudes that the new feminist movement of the 1980s challenged. It was a real feminist challenge. And now I think we are seeing the fruits of that challenge. And the leaders of the post-feminist, post-1980 feminist movement, they were academics, professionals, journalists, and students, advocated an independent women's movement challenging the patriarchal structures in society. We set up feminist consciousness raising groups. I can say we because I was one of them, and started publication activities, organized campaigns against domestic violence, demonstration, say no to wife battering. I mean, these were all very new things, never heard of things in Turkish society. Especially the campaigns to amend the articles that discriminate against women in the Civil Code and the Penal Code was very important. They founded the Women's Library in Istanbul, the Purple Roof Women's Shelter, and lots of other associations to promote women's rights. And this feminist activism also had repercussions in academia. So the women's research centers and universities were founded. I mean, anything that happens, anything that is progressive and radical that happens in academia always has its roots in the social movement. So one should always remember the link between the women's movement and the academia, the relationship. One thing I can mention, Istanbul University's Women's Research Center in 1993 coordinated a petition campaign for the amendment of the Civil Code, and 119,000 women joined in. Afterwards, there was really a coalition of diverse feminist and women's groups. And so all the amended laws and the new laws, for example, like the law for the protection of family, which includes specific measures against domestic violence for the first time, and this was vetted in 2004. But first it was passed in 1998, and the amendment of the Civil Code, etc., was the outcome of this struggle. Of course, we have to take into account the favorable climate of EU accession process as well. But if it weren't for the women, I don't think all these things would happen. So, like one prominent Turkish feminist political scientist, this is Professor Yeşim Marat, she contends political participation of different groups of women, including Islamist and Kurdish women, has expanded the parameters of democratic life in the country since the 1980s. As women expanded the parameters of Turkish political debate with their different political agendas, they expanded the realm of civil rights and women's rights. Women's political activism, whether they were Islamists or feminists, offered an alternative understanding of democracy in which civil rights and liberties are just as important as formal requirements of democracy. I agree with this, and it is really very important, and we always have to, I think, take this into account and remember it. So I can say that indeed, despite their different ideologies, the different groups of women in Turkey have been influenced by the feminist concern for women's ultimate right to articulate the problems women have because they're women, right? So now I'm coming to the end of my words. Again, I would say the legal reforms of the early Republican period and the above-mentioned later amendments are certainly very important. But again, as I said, without change at a cultural level and without a political will to ensure the sustainability of change, the success of law as an instrument or reform will inevitably be limited. It needs to be backed up by resources and government initiatives. There needs to have raised awareness and empowerment of women citizens to use this new legal framework. And obviously, this is not really happening now in Turkey. As we all know, especially with respect to gender violence, Turkey paints a gloomy picture, and Turkey's position vis-à-vis gender equality has tellingly deteriorated since 2006, and then 2012, then 2014, etc. It's all through these years, it's been deteriorating, and now Turkey is 130th among 153 nations in the world. In 2006, it was, this is like 15 or 20 places down since 2006. And the ruling party's approach and ideological discourse certainly has been a determining factor in this regression. And so now, currently, I can say that Turkey is witnessing a conflict generated by the conservative discourse and policies that promote fertility and the domestic role of women as a counter-reaction to the apparent modernization that prioritizes empowerment of women in all spheres of social life. On the one hand, there are legal and institutional developments to prevent violence against women. On the other hand, there is a dilemma generated by policies aiming to suppress women within family. Now, I don't think it would be wrong to claim that this contradiction engenders the reaction of men against the emancipation of women and progressive legal regulations. So a general reason for femicide, taking the name of honor killing some places and in the cities, passion killings, whatever, I think may be seen as aiming to preserve women in their places, in their secondary position, and to keep them from making their own choices, even on the most ordinary issues, using pretexts such as disobedience to the husband or other man in the family. This disobedience thing is very important. Retorting to them, refusing to dress or behave by traditions, etc., whatever, women are being punished. But on the other hand, as I said, this shows that women have started to say no more often, and with more pressure. They're asking for divorce as well as using their legal rights more. And this is not so only secular women, colored women, or the so-called Islamist conservative women. They are asking and demanding their rights as well. So the traditional patriarchal bargain, as Professor Deniz Kandiyoti has coined it, is sort of being dissolved due to women's gains rights and economic independence and legal rights, etc. So
maybe we can wrap up, because there are amazing questions, Fatma Gül.
Okay, I will. I'm not just
questions. Perfect.
All right. So this is, well, I'm stressing this masculinist restoration effort. And I want to mention that, for example, there are the so-called Association of Victimized Fathers who are against divorce rights of women, and who are against this new family protection law and Istanbul Convention, most of all. All right, and this is no coincidence. I know they're really very, very aware that they are losing their foot. So, this is, they're fighting back. But on the other hand, societal legitimacy of violence against women is increasingly being questioned. And so the resentment of men and the increasingly anti-feminist and conservative discourse and approach of the government, in my opinion, actually proves that the violence against women is a political problem, and it should be tackled politically. But of course, again, everything depends on the women and their struggle. And if they're going to succeed in making a coalition, if they're going to succeed to form solidarity, and it seems that they are. ICSHIC, as you said, the platform for women's equality, ICSHIC is bringing together almost 400 organizations, platforms, initiatives, and you know, they're waging a real, very strong struggle to defend their rights, especially the Istanbul Convention. And just one more thing, women everywhere in Turkey, this 8th March, not only in the metropoles, but all locally as well, they're all preparing for the night march against all awful odds. I mean, remember, last year, lots of them were beaten, taken into custody, this and that. But now it's sort of a tradition. This will be the 19th night march, I mean, which is no small thing. So, against all odds, I think we are justified to preserve our hope for the future with all these young people and women fighting for their rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, your story really inspired me. Thank you for being such a trailblazer, leading the way, making a way for us to walk on. And I think your stress on solidarity is a very important one because, I mean, I was having coffee with a friend just only 2 weeks ago, and this is a female friend who has been educated in one of the top universities in the States. And she turns back to me and says, I believe women should not take top roles in a society because, and then like she lists all of the reasons why they shouldn't. And then we get into an argument, of course. And I think your message on solidarity is a strong one here. And thank you so much for, sorry for me to interrupt you. ICSHIC, I think, provides a very important, ground for all of us to get together. And so there's so many questions. I just want to throw a couple of them out there. So first question is from Belgian. She says, unfortunately, when feminism first came around in the 90s, the representatives of feminism were misunderstood and the meaning of it got narrowed down to the thought that women are better than men and women are superior and such. Now, it seems it is hard to correct the meaning or the perspective of that understanding 30 years ago. So what do you think is currently being done to make the citizens have the correct meaning of it?
Well, yes, essentialism. I think essentialism, women are superior because of their own nature, etc. I think that's very detrimental to women's struggle. I mean, women are human beings, just as any other, and they have their rights and their wrongs, their strong points, their weak points, etc. And they have tendency to violence as well. But so for many years, for many centuries, it was imposed upon them that, they are caring and they're emotional and good mothers, etc. Well, all these traits are not bad things. Caring for each other, caring for other people, it's a wonderful human trait. And I think it should be the trait of all human beings, especially now for men, and that, care should be a citizen's duty. Like, you can just theorize it that way. So I think it's important to stress that feminism is for women's rights, for equality, but not for asking to be same as men. No, we can be different and equal. Now in Turkey, there's so much discourse going on. Feminists are asking women to be like men. I mean, who wants to be like men? Why should they? And so, no, it was the feminist movement that insisted on taking into account difference in every aspect of life, not only gender difference, but all sorts of difference. I think it's very important to stress this as well, and to be very careful against essentialism. I find it very detrimental to our cause.
Okay, I have another one. What would you say to someone who says that women in Turkey are oppressed and have always been more oppressed than women in the West?
Well, I wouldn't agree with them. And well, one important thing is that in the East, in the Islamist regions, women in the Middle Ages and onwards were kept outside the public domain. So they never caused a threat for men in the public space. So this was both negative and positive. For example, when the women in their thousands were being killed, because they were witches, burned, etc., this didn't happen in our region because, women were not threats in any way. But now they are threats. So we are sort of seeing this backlash in a strong way, right? And I would like to remind my Western friends that in 19th century, even in 1860s, there was the tradition of wife selling in England. Men could take their wives to the marketplace, just like a slave, and put them out for selling. And this is not my research. This is, very respectful British historians' research. And for example, in 1832, when women were, becoming more aware and asking for suffrage, the English Parliament passed a law. Until then, it wasn't there, that women could not vote. Same thing happened in Germany, etc. I mean, I can give so many examples. So, but it's interesting because nothing comes out of the blue. Everything has a history, and people in the West seem to be forgetting the history and just looking at the current situation. And just another thing, I remember in Holland, I think it was in Amsterdam, there was a survey done. I mean, people were going out and reading texts to people around and asking them, where do you think this text comes from? And everybody answered, the Quran. Well, no, it was the Bible, right? I mean, So I can go on and on this topic, but let me
Yeah, there
stop
is
here.
another fun, not so fun fact that Tahia posted in the chat. Women in Switzerland gained the right to vote in federal elections after a referendum in February 1971. So yeah, the
Right.
list could go on and on.
Even France. I mean, in France, women gained the vote after Turkish women.
Right.
Right.
So thank you so much, Fatma Gül. There, believe it or not, there are over 30 questions that have been sent to you, but we possibly don't have that much time. I really need to move on, but if you stay until the end of the event, we can throw maybe some of the other questions so that we don't disappoint everyone with those questions. So with that, I would like to move on to our next amazing speaker. Melek, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I am opening my camera too.
Hi, Melek.
Hi.
I hope everything is well with you. Where are you connecting from?
I am connected from Istanbul.
Istanbul, yeah. Perfect. So for everybody who joined maybe late, this is Grassroots Feminism in Turkey. We're putting a spotlight on women's rights in Turkey, and here are the most amazing women and men who are doing an amazing job working in NGOs, as founder of NGOs, representatives of NGOs, advancing women's rights in Turkey. And here's Melek. And Melek's platform, as We Will Stop Femicide platform, they struggle to stop femicide since 2010 and violence against women and child abuse, to reveal the suspicious deaths of women and to enforce Istanbul Convention and Protection Law number 6284. Thank you so much for being with us here, Melek.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, the mic is over to you. I will maybe knock on your door if you run a little bit over. So,
okay.
Up to you.
Okay, thank you for inviting us here. And also, I make a presentation. If it's okay, I could share my screen. Okay.
No problem.
I'm just trying to sharing the screen.
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay. Everybody is seeing it?
Yes, if you can make it a full screen, that would be, I think, a better experience. More left.
Okay, maybe I will return to some of the points to showing the number of the femicide maybe. And also I will use this screen, and also I will show the number of the femicide at some points. And also today I'm going to speak about the femicide issue in Turkey, which is the biggest issue in Turkish society. So as you know, the last stage of violence against women is the femicide, and by thinking that the femicide are one of the most important problems in our society in Turkey, we were established to put an end to them. And also we named, as you see, our name is the We Will Stop the Femicide, and also we named our organization after our goal. And also we have been fighting for years to ending the femicide issue. And also, firstly, when we recognize the femicide as an important issue, and we must see the data on femicide, but the only data on the we could find was the Ministry of Justice data in 2009, stating that the femicide increased by 140 in the last year is for 7 years, and also which was very amazing. And also in the following years, the answer we got after querying the ministries was that no data for sort existed. They are answering us. So after that, since 2010, we have been reporting the femicides monthly, and by keeping track of the newspapers and the news we could reach. But maybe lastly, we haven't announced the femicide data, because as you know that every day we are seeing a femicide issue in Turkey, and now we are going to the Women's Day to 8 March. We are saying that we will not...
Melek, can you hear me? We cannot
Yes.
see your screen. Can you please share your screen?
Okay, I will share the screen. Okay. Just a minute. So you can see it. Could you see the
Yes, it came up.
presentation? Okay. You are still seeing the...
Can you make it full screen?
Okay. I couldn't find full screen, but if it's okay,
Yeah.
I can. Okay. And also after that period, yes, I'm just trying to figure out where I stop from. So since 2010, we are starting to collecting the data, and we released information on the number of femicide victims, the perpetrators and the excuse of femicide, the location and the time of femicide to public. The Minister of Interior has begun to declare the femicide data by using the term of femicide in the last 2 years, thanks to the women's effort, the women's struggle. So you can see the yes, number of the latest year data, and also it reflects that 300 femicide and 171 suspicious women that occurred in Turkey. So we carry out a holistic struggle from the data reporting to following up violence against women and femicide cases with volunteering lawyers, from creating public opinion to mass protests, from constructive suggestions to a phone line opening whole day for women to subject to violence who want to receive information. And also you will also think that we have numbers, just a moment. And also you can see the number, these are the between the 2008 and between 2019, there is a 3,185 women killed by men in Turkey. And also you can see how it is the biggest number in and very important issue in Turkey. And also femicide has increased, as you see in the numbers. Femicide has increased every year since 2000 and decreasing only in 2011. And also because the 2011, it is the important point for Turkey and also some of the European countries, because Turkey was the first signatory country of the Istanbul Convention, and all political party leaders declared that there's the zero tolerance towards the violence against women, and Turkey signed the convention, Istanbul Convention, a concrete declaration of political will against women. And also at the same time, we were all working on a law that would protect women in accordance with the convention. And also even the seemingly small concrete steps was directly reflected the lives of women, and the femicide number decreased. However, the femicide continued to increase in the following years as the requirements of the concrete contract were not fully fulfilled. So not only the femicide numbers, but as you see, the numbers of the suspicious deaths also increasing in Turkey. So it is a very important dimension, very dimensions of violence for women. Women are now being tortured to death by men, being killed in front of their children, and some are murdered with their children. And the perpetrators try to obscure the evidence by trying to make the murders look like a suspicious death. trying to show the as an accident or something like that. And also the number of suspicious women deaths has increased. We encounter the murders made seem like suicide. We see women's deaths who are tried to make suspicious declared as accidents and practical jokes. And now we are trying to stop femicide, and also we are not now trying to reveal the facts lying under the suspicious women's deaths. And also, as I mentioned, there were 300 women were murdered and 171 women died under suspicious circumstances. And also, last year we lost 474 women because of the suspicious deaths and femicides in 2019. So murdered women have two things in common: women being women and wanting to make decisions about their own lives. Most of the women were killed by men. They were dating the man they broke with up, or their brother or their relatives. And also you can see the numbers. Most of the time killed by the very closest one, and also more than have also killed in their houses, which must be very safe for the woman, but unfortunately most of the women were killed in their houses. And also more than half of the killed women were killed by firearms. So because of this reason, we are trying to also some of the work for the avoiding the using the firearms, because we are knowing that most of the firearms are using in this kind of femicide issues. We are trying to stopping to using and getting firearms, because some of them, some of the perpetrators find out these firearms easily on internet. For instance, Helen Palando can perpetrators buy this gun on the internet and achieve it very easily. So we are also fighting against this kind of things. And also why the femicide number is increasing in Turkey. And we know that the women are changing in Turkey and also in other parts of the world together. So in Turkey, we are demanding more justice. Contrary to popular belief, femicide is not seen more in underdeveloped regions, but in metropolis, such as in Istanbul, in Ankara, in Izmir.
Can
And
you turn on the microphone of Haya?
Sorry, someone is asking something. I couldn't read.
No, got it, Melek. Sorry, somebody's microphone on.
Okay. Okay. So urbanization and also regardless of the circumstances, women are changing in deep course of history, and urbanization is increasing. Society is making progress. And also there's a television in every home. There are more ways of communication, and the women benefit from all the ports and highways that have been constructed and being bragged about now. So when a woman became aware of things that are happening in the world, therefore we are changing. We are asking that why is my life not changing when the world is? And also we say that every day women try to make their voice heard on social media. And if they are subject to violence, if they are not happy, if they want to divorce, break up, they want to go to work, get education, and also dress as they want. And in other words, if we want to live with dignity and make decisions for ourselves. So consequently, they are trying to suppress with instruments of the patriarchy and male violence, and that are against this progress. So we need the government to confront this. to apply the Istanbul Convention, because the Istanbul Convention is very important for us. So why we demand the effective implementation of the Istanbul Convention and protection law that will put an end to the femicide during the protest in courthouses everywhere, and we unfortunately we are facing an opposition about it. As you maybe all remember, that there was a very important discussions about the removal from the Istanbul Convention, but we want to say that it's not easy to talking about the withdrawal from it, because all parts of women from Turkey joining the protest to keeping the Istanbul Convention and also implement the Istanbul Convention. So Istanbul Convention is a guide for us. We have to put them on the agenda. Some conflicts emerge with the discussion regarding the withdrawal, but we are responding them to showing the biggest protests, and most of the cities we make the demonstrations to stopping the withdrawal discussions. So because what mattered was the public administration's responsibilities, and the Istanbul Convention completely handles this issue. The society is no longer silent when a femicide issues. It's very important, I think. And also, according to surveys, we are seeing that only a small part of the society is supporting the withdrawal from the Istanbul Convention. So in other words, the governments in power starts this conflict by failing to see the change and the progress of the society. The women's movement got ahead of these conflicts, of course. So maybe I can, if we have a little bit time, maybe I can talk about a little bit about the Istanbul Convention.
Melek, one of the questions was about that. Maybe maybe you can relate to the question. So
okay.
The person asks, what does the Istanbul Convention mean for women in Turkey? Was it successful in reducing violence against women, or is it only symbolic?
No, it's not symbolic. So when we are talking about the Istanbul Convention, now I will some information a little bit about the convention, because we are not, as you remember, that the showing of this number, just showing that these are the 2011, and the only year the femicide number is decreasing in Turkey, and it is what the important point is. The Istanbul Convention was signed in this year, and also the government also saying that we will show a political will, and they are saying that we will show zero tolerance to the violence against women. Because of this reason, the Istanbul Convention is very important. So it's also bringing us to the four phases, and also it's bringing the prevention, protection, investigation, and also strengthening policies. These are the most important parts of the convention. And also the convention tells us that to create a society that is preventing the violence. So that violence cannot occur in this society. So it is very similar to trying to find a vaccine for COVID. So as you know, today we have very happy to finding the so for the violence against women, it's for us, so it is the equality. So, but according to World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Report 2020, and Turkey is the 130th country among the 150 countries. So you can see that the women are not equal in Turkey. So our situation is not very bright at all. So, and also another thing is the protection mechanism brings the Istanbul Convention. And also when we are talking about protection, we are talking about the protection law in Turkey. And also the Istanbul Convention saying that you may not be able to prevent a situation immediately, but you need to take immediate action to protect the woman effectively. So when a woman is in a danger position and comes to help for your help, so you need to protect the woman. So we are discussing the implementation of the protection law effectively. It includes heavily effective measures and prosecutions that it speaks for every woman, not only for every woman. It includes the whole woman. So the rights of the law consists that if a woman is economically weak and in need of shelter, it can provide all kind of stated, and also it consists of rights and measurements, including providing a job, a house to stay with their children, the right to be able to send the children to the kindergarten, having a restraining order against the perpetrator, or even the right to migrate if you are needed. So women come to us for help for not being able to use any of these rights. So we have that the Istanbul Convention and also protection law includes many measurements to protect the woman, but our problem is the not implemented this law and also the Istanbul Convention. And also importantly, the Istanbul Convention is saying that if you are not able to prevent or protect, but once a harmful position is occurred, you must conduct an effective investigation, secure justice, and give the necessary sanctions. When we are now talking about the suspicious deaths of women, we are now that how the investigation is very important, because we know that if you are trying to showing the reality behind these suspicious deaths, you have to make a very carefully and importantly the investigation, and you have to bring the justice for all women. So because we know that the impunity is very common in Turkey. And also lastly, the Istanbul Convention is saying that the strength the woman. The most matter in order for women to get stronger is for us to get more productive. So there's a reality right now that is being covered just like femicides were covered years ago. So productivity and contribution to the working life allow us to economically independent. So according to Turkish Statistical Institute, at least 11 million of women out of 25 million are not even considered as a labor force. And this show considers the ones as labor force whom do not act of searching and applying for jobs. In other words, at least 11 million women are being neglected for being forced to look after the kids, do the housework, and for not having being the opportunity to dream about a job. So to neglecting the women who stay home and to do all the work, not consider them as a labor for, is a kind of economical violence. So women almost as populated as a whole country are put on the front line of violence, and women who contribute to work life are imposed working situations. They are not secure or stable. So women, and also in these times, women are always the first to be fired. And also we are knowing that because of this reason, maybe I can answer the questions. Because of this reason, because the Istanbul Convention bringing many important measurements and very concrete steps for the preventing and the protection, not only preventing and protecting the violence, and also bringing such kind of the strengthening of women, and not only economically but politically and in socially. So because of these reasons, we are supporting and always saying that implementation of Istanbul Convention and also the protection law is very important, because we are knowing that if you are implement the protection law and also the Istanbul Convention, we can keep women alive. So because of this issue, we are saying this implementation of the convention is very important.
So
And
not
also,
symbolic, right, Melek?
sorry?
So not symbolic, I would say.
No, not symbolic. Every article of the Istanbul Convention and every article of the protection law is writing after the a woman were killed by a man.
Amazing.
Because after these issues, the government also learned something from these issues. So they need to make something like that. So we need the implementation and decreasing the number of femicide in Turkey.
Because we're running a little bit over, I would like to
Okay,
ask.
I finished my presentation.
There's a burning question. Everybody asks the same question.
Okay, what is the question?
Revert to you. So most people like say something along the lines of this, like we expected the number of femicide cases to go up in 2020 during the pandemic, and it looks like, according to your numbers, they didn't go up, or like at least it looks like it stayed the same if you include the suspicious deaths. Why do you think that's the case?
We are thinking that during the pandemic area, the women hesitate to using their rights. So we are during the pandemic area, our applications were very high, but also the women are always saying that they are not in this time period, unless they are trying to giving up to a divorce, giving up to breakup, and they are giving up to using their modern rights, or giving up to go to the police station or judiciary because of the pandemic. Because of this reason, we are thinking that the number of femicide number are decreased, but also we are knowing that the Interior Minister announced the number of the violence against women, but the number of the violence against women in Turkey during the pandemic area were also increased. And also because we are knowing that it is very hard time for women to being at home with their perpetrators, because we are knowing that it's most of the time occurred in their homes. So it is kind of when we are showing that the restrictions are stopping and everybody is starting to going out, the number of femicide in this area also increased. But most of the time we are saying that as you see that whole society are very showing their angry and making their protest against femicide. So now we are saying that the woman, not only the woman, also the society also changing in Turkey. So nobody in Turkey keeps silence against the femicide or violence against women. So I think something is changed, and also after these biggest movements, and because the women movement and also the demonstration is one of the most biggest protests in Turkey is the women's struggle. So because of this issue, the government also have to make some regulations and have to make some speech about it. Last day, the President Erdogan also saying that the protection law is very important for fighting against violence against women, and also they are trying to bringing some kind of regulations about the women violence against women. So because of our struggle and becoming bigger and bigger, we are seeing that we can make a pressure on the government. So as we are seeing the discussions on the Istanbul Convention discussion, we are seeing that the AKP government is not easy issue for the government taking a back step, but we are not seeing that after the big protest, they have to giving up this withdrawal from the Istanbul Convention. As we after this, we are seeing that how powerful the woman movement in Turkey. So with this powerful movement, we are thinking that we have a power to repressing the government and continuing to making pressure and to implementation of the Istanbul Convention after and the protection law. We will very decrease the femicide only. And we are knowing that the struggle is the most important thing for us to decreasing the number of the femicide in Turkey.
Melek, I think your points in where you said like women are changing, the society is changing,
Yeah.
right? It really comes back to Fatma Gül's point as well. I think she also made the same argument, and I'm really interested what the other speakers are going to talk about this. So before we move on, I would love to ask you, how can we get involved with you guys, like with We Will Stop Femicide platform?
Yeah, you can when you go to our website, or you can follow our social media, and you can see a form on our website, and also of course on social media. And if you are use this form, you can be a part of the We Will Stop Femicide platform. And also we will be there on Friday. We will make a protest on Beşiktaş on 5th March. And also we are waiting our friends to our protest. And also we will saying that we will stop the femicide, and also we will never be silent against the suspicious death. And also we will saying that implement the Istanbul Convention. So if you are fulfill the form, our friends will also call you, and also they can join our, we have many assemblies in all cities. We are establishing and trying to finishing in 81 districts. And also we are working in the whole part of the Istanbul. So for the Women's Day, we are all waiting, all of us, to our protest.
Thank you so much, Melek, for your contributions. And the other questions we will answer, hopefully, if there is more time left at the end of this event.
Okay.
There are a couple of questions in the chat. I'm moving over to Morçatı now, but have a look at that at the social media links. And with regards to the event you will be holding, not to the event, of course, the protest you will be holding. Maybe you can share some information about that as well. So thank you, Melek. Hi, Ebrar, are you there?
Yes, hey.
Hi, Ebrar, how are you?
I am fine, thank you. How are you?
Thank you, very good. So for everyone who joined us just now, we're here in celebration of International Women's Day, and we're hearing from amazing NGOs, volunteers, representatives, co-founders who are doing amazing work in terms of advancing women's rights in Turkey. And one of them is Ebrar Nefes. She is representing today Morçatı Women's Shelter Foundation. So Morçatı has been around for more than 30 years now. And it has been founded by feminists in order to combat violence against women. At Morçatı, you formulate male violence against feminist principles, and you aim for women to be able to build lives unhindered by gender-based discrimination and male violence under free and equal conditions. So you also mentioned solidarity in your description. Without further ado, it's on to you. And again, like the other speakers, I will be knocking on your door when we're running a little bit over. Okay, Ebrar?
Okay, sure, definitely. Please do that. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting Morçatı to this session. I am Ebrar, a volunteer at Morçatı. Today I will start talking a little bit about violence against women, then a little bit about the history of Mortete, and how we operate, how we show solidarity with women, and what other works we do. I also have a plain presentation. Maybe I can show it. Well, I hope it will help us to.
Yes, we can see it. Bottom right, you can see exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I will just. Yes. Okay. I will start by saying that women are subjected to male violence in nearly all societies and therefore suffering physically and psychologically from that violence and sometimes losing their freedom and self-confidence because of that violence. And violence against women denotes physical, psychological, sexual, economic violence, and all kinds of threats, coercions, maltreatments within or outside the family. And with the widespread use of technology, especially within the last decades, I think we can also mention cyber violence and stalking as forms of violence too. Violence against women and domestic violence in particular constitutes one of the most commonplace means of keeping women under control. We say that male violence towards women is both an outcome and a reflection of gender inequality in the society. So how this violence comes to being and how it's considered legitimate, ordinary, or normal in the world we live in today is because of the gender inequality we are experiencing. Mortete Women's Shelter Foundation is a feminist organization founded by feminists in 1990. And as Melis also mentioned, last year was our 30th year. We were celebrating, we were celebrating the solidarity. It works in the area of male violence towards women, and it struggles against it. But our history also goes a little bit back than that. And I would like to mention a little bit of that because I want to show how, the work we do today is an outcome of feminist movement in Turkey and years of feminist solidarity with women. Fatma Gül Hoca also mentioned that the post-1980 area is an important time for Turkey's feminist movement. After 1980, women gathered in small consciousness-raising groups and discussed issues touching upon their daily lives and personal lives and relationships. And after a while, women began to discuss the male violence they were subjected to and realized their common experience in that regard. And eventually they started to work in that area, invited each other to speak about the violence they encountered. The year 1987 is also important. At that year, the Women's Solidarity Campaign against violence was initiated, and it progressed with the spread of solidarity networks. The photo you see on the screen is also from a march organized by this campaign. It says women join the solidarity against violence, domestic violence, let's say. So a solidarity network was created due to the large number of women who were subjected to violence and who needed support of doctors and lawyers due to that violence. Then the Solidarity Network was unable to meet the needs of these women. And the need for a women's shelter soon became clearer. Therefore, in 1990, Mortete Women's Shelter Foundation was created by a group of female activists, feminist activists, in order to continue consultations with women to strengthen the fight against domestic violence. And since that date, hundreds of women have joined the foundation, joined Morçatı as volunteers after participating in our workshops. So, how we show solidarity with women at Morçatı? We show solidarity with women who were subjected to male violence after they reach us first through our Solidarity Center. So it's important that women reach us by themselves by wishing to do so. Today, we receive an average of 10 to 15 applications by women, mostly via phone, but via email as well at our Solidarity Center. If that woman who reaches us lives in Istanbul, we can also set up set up an appointment for a face-to-face meeting. I am also a social worker at our Solidarity Center, so I come across with women on a daily basis. We call the work we carry out with women as social work, and what we do there is basically mostly showing solidarity with women. We carry out an in-depth interview with women to understand the situation they're in and think of ways to be of support to them together with that woman. While doing that, we always emphasize that the violence they were subjected to is never their fault, and it is carried out by the perpetrator on purpose and with the aim of controlling women and ensuring that gender inequality. After an in-depth interview, we ask women what they want to do themselves and forward them to the necessary social support mechanisms that are our rights to benefit from, that are established and progressed through feminist movement, feminist solidarity over the years. Some of the most important parts of these interviews with women and our solidarity with women is to provide essential knowledge and information to them, as knowledge gives one power, and to ensure that women are not responsible for the violence they were subjected to. Being subjected to violence may have various consequences for us, and feelings of desperation, guilt, fear are some of them, as well as other consequences on our psychological well-being. And to support women while they consider alternatives and plan their new life, volunteer professionals working in the area of mental health also support women, and they provide therapy sessions voluntarily, especially to those who cannot afford that support. There are volunteer psychiatrists at Morçatı if they have a certain, I mean, it's a limited possibility, but sometimes we also provide that to women who reach us. Other than that, majority of women who have been exposed to violence do not know about their legal rights or how to use them, how to benefit from them. And there are volunteer lawyers at Morçatı. They spend time explaining women about their rights and the laws that protect them. At Morçatı, volunteer lawyers provide legal counseling rather than taking cases and following them to the end, because it is the responsibility of the public bodies to provide that service to women. So what we do is to provide a legal counseling to that woman based on her unique situation, and them to forward them to bar associations and other mechanisms. So we can provide these kind of supports at our Solidarity Center, but we also have an independent shelter. In Turkey, there is only one independent shelter, and it is run by Mor Çatı. And there are also other shelters run by the government, the municipality, or the municipalities. Shelters are places where women can stay free from violence, and their address is confidential so that the perpetrator cannot find them. At shelters, women can stay with their children if they have any, take a rest after leaving a violent environment, and take time to plan what they want to do next with their lives. And with the support of a social worker guiding them through the, I mean, not guiding them, but showing solidarity with them through the way. Mor Çatı has carried out 3 different shelter projects in Istanbul so far. And since February 2009, Mor Çatı has been running a new and independent shelter in its own building with its own funds and with the help of women's movement in Turkey. And it has the capacity to accommodate a total number of 18 women and children at the same time. Yeah, and the whole thing we do while showing solidarity with women is done through feminist principles. So in that regard, we do not say that we help women who reach us, but we show solidarity with each other, and we all gain strength from that and through that solidarity. We do not see ourselves as saviors of women because we are not also saved from violence, and as long as this gender inequality persists, we are not saved. And acknowledging that perspective, that each woman is unique in terms of what she has been through and what she may need, and listening to women regarding what they want to do rather than imposing on them what to do, are all parts of these feminist principles. Yeah. Part of this meeting was also about informing the audience, like you, regarding how we support women who do not speak Turkish. First of all, we can carry out the social work with women also in English. There are English-speaking social workers both at our solidarity centers, such as myself, or in our shelter. So we can either show solidarity with non-Turkish speakers, non-Turkish speaking women from our solidarity center, or they can also stay at our shelter if there is place and if they need so. And if that woman does not speak English either, we can try to arrange an interpreter in a language that she speaks to communicate. We have resources to do that. Yeah, so other than that, other than the social work we carry out, disseminating knowledge in knowledge also an important part of the work we do. The knowledge that can be helpful to women and the knowledge gained through our experiences from the field. For example, the law number 6284, also mentioned in the previous presentation, is an important law for women to benefit from while preventing male violence and helping them to take actions against the perpetrators. What we did was to first gather the necessary information from that law and how women can make use of it in their daily lives in a Turkish brochure. Then we translated it into English, then we translated it into Arabic and Persian. And now we are in the process of publishing it in Spanish and Portuguese as well. Yeah. So at Mor Çatı, besides showing solidarity with individual women, we also make use of that experience to influence policy so that we can help building a world free from violence, free from shelters, and ensure gender equality for other women who do not reach mortati. For that reason, we carry out various activities. And the Assembly on Women's Shelters and Solidarity Centers is one of that organizations that we carry out. That assembly is a platform founded to share experiences in our struggle against violence against women, and to create common policies and to form a permanent communication network between organizations and institutions working in the area. The first assembly took in place in 1998 with a call from Mortati to women activists working in that area from all around Turkey. Because yeah, and this assembly allows us to share our experiences directly from the field, the experiences that are gathered through our struggle. And it allows us a platform to share solutions, discuss solutions for the problems occur during the time. Yeah, and this year the assembly took place online, and this photo is from that assembly. And I am finishing up. Apart from the assembly, we also state our political stance regarding developments in the field by writing reports, for example, for national or international bodies, such as EU, European Union, United Nations, or European Council, by joining national and international meetings, where we provide our experience and our critiques and policy proposals in that regard. And while doing all of our work, we follow feminist principles and we stay independent all the time. And I thank you for joining us today and hope to see you at Taksim on March 8th.
So, okay, I will ask about that too, but there are several questions related to language. So first of all, there is a question related to violence at home. One of the questions asks, if somebody does not have Turkish citizenship and has been experiencing violence at home, can they contact you?
Yes, I mean, definitely. We show solidarity with all women. And that was I was trying to explain. Even they do not speak in English, we try to arrange a translator. I mean, the rights we have sometimes depend on our citizenship, but what we do is to try to learn what that particular woman can do, what she wants to do, and we think of ways together to support them. Yeah, so when I say that each woman is unique, also is in that sense, like they will have unique needs and we try to take them into consideration. We carry a holistic approach while showing solidarity with women.
Wow. Okay, and one more question. This question is about your capacity. So if a woman is in desperate need for legal or psychological help, how long do they have to wait with you before they can reach some form of help?
How long they need to wait in terms of what?
Like, do you have like 10 people helping women out, and like, are you in full capacity, or like, can you help someone right away when they contact you?
Okay, now I get it. Okay, I mean, we are just a women's organization. We are not a public body that has all the capacity in the world. But if there are enough volunteers at that particular time, we try to answer the calls or the emails that are coming through. Sometimes we have to forward women to other mechanisms as well. We also do that because sometimes there are not enough volunteers. But what we try to do is to forward women to the right places.
Awesome. And I was just going to connect that with my last question. How can we get involved with Mor Çatı? How can we help? How can we volunteer? What are the first places we should look and apply to?
Okay. Yeah, there is also a volunteering form at our website as well. But volunteering at Mor Çatı takes a little bit time because it's important to join meetings. There are 3 separate meetings and a workshop at the end to be able to volunteer at Mor Çatı so that we come to the same point, let's say, same page on our political understanding. But we are not enough in getting back to all these volunteering applications, unfortunately. And one of the ways to get involved with Mor Çatı is to follow our work and share it with others, all, not Mor Çatı, but all women's organizations, all of their work, because we share the experiences from the field, and it's important to disseminate that knowledge as well. So yeah, I think I can say that, and it's Mor Çatı is a place where we show solidarity, a women-to-women solidarity. So we are all women, I can also say that. But there are other ways to support Mor Çatı. Yeah.
Perfect. Like if you could share some of those ways in the chat, that would be amazing. I'll follow up as well. Thank you so much for doing such valuable work. There were so many other questions, but we need to move on now.
Of course.
Time again, Ebrar.
Thank you.
So the next speaker will be Gülşah. Gülşah, are you there? Gülşah?
Yep, I'm right here.
Hi, how are you, Gülşah?
Hi, thanks.
Where are you connecting from?
I'm from Istanbul.
Cool, very cool. Cold Istanbul. I've been freezing here. So let me introduce you quickly. And for those who've just joined us, we're here for the celebration of International Women's Day and hearing from amazing NGOs doing amazing work in terms of opening the way up for women's rights in Turkey. And next up is consultant Gülşah Seral. She's a consultant to Kadının İnsan Hakları. Kadının İnsan Hakları translates roughly to Women for Women's Human Rights, WWHR, New Ways. They're an autonomous women's non-governmental organization founded in 1993 that actually coincides with the time of the UN World Conference on Human Rights held in Vienna the same year. And during that conference, it was affirmed that women's rights are human rights, hence the name of the organization. And the organization Women for Women's Human Rights strives for women's human rights, supports active and broad participation of women in all spheres of life, and strives for the establishment and maintenance of a democratic, egalitarian, and peaceful social order at the national, regional, and international level. Gülşah, microphone is yours. We have 10 minutes, and then I'll come back to you with questions.
Thanks a lot, Melis, for that introduction. I have 10 minutes, not 15. Okay. I will speak quickly and maybe, yes, all right. Let me just share this then.
Yes, it started. Perfect.
All right. Oops.
Perfect.
So, yeah. I'm from WWHR, or Kadın İnsan Hakları Yeni Çözümler Derneği in Turkish. And I'm also very happy to be among you today. So thank you for that. WWHR was founded in 1993, as you also said. We're an autonomous NGO. And surprisingly, it was still, I guess, unclear in 1993 that women's rights are human rights. So it had to be said at a world conference even, which is where our name in both Turkish and English is inspired from. We work on different levels to promote women's human rights, inequality, and non-discrimination, um, to support the active and broad participation of women in all spheres of life, and to establish and maintain a democratic, egalitarian, and peaceful social order. Our vision is a world where equality is a norm, where power relations, especially those based on the patriarchal system, have ended, and women's rights are implemented and protected and defended. And this is the day we hope to actually, when we get there, we hope to shut down WWHR and work on other things that might remain. But I don't know if we're going to see that. Spreading awareness about feminist rights at different levels to enable and support women take part in social life is a very important part of the work we do. We take a very holistic approach to the work. So we look at what is going on between violence against women and education and political participation and social rights, legal rights, sexuality, reproductive rights. And in doing so, we do this both locally and regionally and internationally. So we always seem to be working also as a bridge between different spheres of knowledge and information and solidarity and networking. To do this, we collaborate, of course, with women's NGOs, with LGBTQ organizations, other rights-based organizations, because as everyone who spoke before me also said, this is not the kind of work you can do alone. You need to do it in collaboration with other groups. And the work that we undertake in collaboration with others is based on maybe these basic steps. We first try to produce and share and disseminate feminist knowledge. To do this end, we might conduct research studies. A very recent one we did was on what it means to be a woman during a pandemic, and the report's finished and the English report will be coming out soon with that. Also, to help women maybe gain or add on to their critical awareness and skills about how to exercise their human rights, and then use this knowledge to become proponents of social change. Raising awareness, capacity building, solidarity networks, and doing all this work nationally, internationally, is the underlying layer of all this work. And we do this from a perspective of organizing, holding, planning, running rights-based training programs and seminars, doing advocacy nationally, internationally, and also producing and sharing feminist knowledge. To this end, the first one is the Human Rights Education Program. Another one is the Gender Equality Seminars that are a bit newer. And the Human Rights Education Program for young women was, unfortunately, we were in the pilot testing phase for that, but COVID has made us postpone that. A lot of our field work had to be postponed. Advocacy can be in terms of working to improve earned rights or generate new ones, or what we're currently seeing is having the need to protect it, and where monitoring and reporting rights violations comes into play a lot. And networking is local Supporting local women's organizations is also important, informing and joining other platforms of action. HREP was developed in 1995 as a result of a research study that showed basically women were often unaware of the legal rights they had, and so they lacked the strategies to overcome rights violations. And there was, in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, very few women's organizations, and especially independent grassroots organizations were very few. So based on the information from the studies and from needs assessment studies, we developed a training program that lasts 16 weeks. It's very participatory, 4-hour program where we talk about all the topics that you see here in a group setting, in a closed group setting. And we've been doing this for over 25 years. And the Human Rights Education Program for Women has been implemented in around 60 provinces in Turkey and Northern Cyprus, and some 16,000 women have completed the program so far. Field work has been really badly impacted during COVID, but we are still in touch with the groups that started and had to stop. We do this field work with different partnerships. For a long time, we were working with first the General Director for Social Services, which was later abolished and became or added on to the Ministry of Family and Social Policies. There was a cutoff point at one point with that collaboration. And so from 2002 onwards, with the increase and the establishment of women's organizations, we began working with women's groups in field work. And also from 2016 onwards, we've been working with municipalities very much as well, all across Turkey, as much as possible. HREP is a program, it's a long-running program, and we do our own evaluation and monitoring, but we also, every 7 years, find an independent researcher to
I think we lost Gülşah. Yes. I know. Okay. So while we're waiting for her, let's see what we can do. Okay, let's wait maybe 10 seconds if we can get her back. If not, I'll ask some of the questions in my pockets that I've left for our previous speakers. So literally counting down. By the way, if you would like to send questions, you can always send them to Tarek. And I think you've been bombarding him with your questions. Thank you so much for that. He's been messaging me here saying, oh my God, we have so many questions. Perfect. So let's...
I fell off. I don't know where I fell off, but I'm back.
I'm waiting for you. Woohoo!
Okay, thanks for that.
No,
I hop right in.
Yes, please. You can also share your screen.
Yeah, I will. Okay, so sorry for that.
No, that's okay.
I don't know where
see your
I
screen.
dropped off. Do you now?
I can't see your screen. Can anybody else see your screen? No? Yes, I'm seeing you now. I'm seeing your screen now. Perfect.
My screen's there as well? Okay. All right.
Yes,
Okay.
we have
Is
you.
there-
We have your screen and we have you.
Okay. So yes, as I was saying when I realized I fell off, I will be linking to the reports that about the studies, and if you want to look at them later in detail, you can. The program before COVID was done in groups. We came together for 16 weeks. And the program is also, participants have reported that they were able to stop the violence in their lives, be it physical violence, emotional violence, economic violence, or sexual violence to varying degrees as a result of the program. Another based, it's not really a training, the seminars. We do our gender equality seminars. This is for a mixed audience. Before COVID, it used to be a 4-hour seminar that we would do live. And again, the impact assessment showed us that this was found to be satisfied by 83% of the participants. And we do this with mixed groups as well, as I said. Not only advocacy work, also very prevalent in the work that we do. We do this to organize national or international campaigns to push for legal reforms, the enactment of laws, the establishment of a non-discriminatory legal framework, among other things. And we do this in Turkey, we do this regionally, we do through networks and Muslim societies, especially in terms of sexual and bodily rights, and also at the UN level. So all of the people who spoke before me referred in some way or other to the work that was done by the women's movement to change law or legal structure for the better, starting not with 1997. These are just a few that I've noted here, but the women's movement in Turkey really has been effective and powerful in getting legal change and making legal change possible. This has come somewhat to a halt since 2012, where the work that we've been doing has taken on more of a protective stance. Like everyone else before me said, the Istanbul Convention is under attack. Abortion rights are under attack. Alimony rights are under attack. The Turkish Penal Code, Article 103, is about sexual crimes against minors is under attack, and 6284, which is law on violence against women, is also being has been under attack as well. And for those of you who don't speak Turkish, the photograph says here, "Together women are strong." And this is one of the things that if you attend the March, you might be able to see that as well. CSPR, the Coalition for Equality Rights in Muslim Societies, is a international network that WWHR co-founded, and it currently has 38 member organizations from different countries. I will also be linking the CSPR's information in the information I'm going to share with you at the end. We also do advocacy work at the United Nations level. So all the +5s, the +10s, you see, these are human rights meetings held in these times, or about about population and development and sustainable development goals. We take part in these meetings to find out, to also to monitor how much the work that's getting done is getting done, and to monitor that as well. We were also part of the very strong push to include gender equality and the empowerment of women and girl children as one of the sustainable development goals. The way we do this, the monitoring and the following up, is at the UN level. It can be through the CEDAW committee. CEDAW stands for Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. And there is Turkey is signatory to this convention, and so this is one way we follow what's going on, and there are national reports that are presented, and then NGOs prepare and provide shadow reports, and this is something that's been increasingly done with women's organizations and LGBTQ organizations when the reporting is being done. The same is also true for the Istanbul Convention. WWHR is part of many different networks, as I was saying. One of the ways we help or work with all this information is through publication, through social media, to share the experiences and the knowledge and the know-how and the strategies, so we can learn from one another as well. The most recent study we conducted was, as I said, being a woman during a pandemic. It's going to be coming out soon. The Turkish report is done, so if you want to access it, you can do it from our website. We do this in different languages as well, targeting different audiences, and ranging from research papers to illustrated booklets. These are just some examples of materials we use in the program training. The ones on the left are: we have sexuality, we have economic rights, we have reproductive rights, and we have rights. And the ones on the right are the bulletin that we use for keeping up-to-date information about what's happening with WWHR, what's happening with the women's movement, and we share this, and we've just made this into an online resource now as well. Sometimes we have more book-like materials as well in Turkish, some in English. Some of these some are sold in bookstores. In 2020, though, some of the work the field work we did took a severe hit. So we did try to move some of the work online. We did HREP Solidarity get-togethers online. We moved the gender equality seminars into a digital setting and trying to do this as shorter 1 hour, 1x4 meetings organized with KOSGL, which is an LGBTQ organization, Solidarity Without Borders meeting, workshop. We still continue to sign protocols with municipalities for future work. We work with Istanbul Greater Municipality to provide gender equality seminars. we started 2 other research studies in addition to the one during the pandemic. One's on abortion, one is about the concept of consent. And we were also part of 13 different mechanisms at the UN level and the European Council. We are developing materials, we're developing short videos on why the Istanbul Convention is important, why we need it, why it's something that needs to be protected and not withdrawn from. We also produce lots of materials, booklets that you can access on an online setting as well. So we've moved a lot of stuff to online setting, and you can find some of them from there. Yes, like everyone else said, this is going to be the 19th in March. So be there if you're going to be there. Make sure you're wearing a mask. And these are our social media handles. I will also be linking some of the things I talked about here. And put them all in. I don't know if it's, okay, some of them is not coming. I'm gonna have to do it in 2 batches. I'm sorry. Just a second.
Trying to bring your screen back?
What?
Are you trying to bring your screen back?
No, I am trying to add links to access information in the chat box, but it was too big. So this is 1 block over here.
Yes. There were so many questions about this, by the way. Thank you. There were questions about your reports. So this actually answers one of my questions. Yay.
And the shadow reports are done in collaboration with other NGOs. And I also put the March H Women's March information about that, because it's not just in Istanbul, that pictures from the call from Istanbul, but it's going to be simultaneous in lots of other places across Turkey as well. This is not new to this year. Women in women's organizations have been doing this for a long time. And sometimes it's more difficult and sometimes not. So we'll see how it goes this year. Thank you, everyone. I don't know if I'm over time, so I forgot to look at when I started. Yeah.
I have one question for you, Gülşah. And so one of them was related to the reports. Thank you so much. And what kind of effects do these reports have on the situation on the ground for women in Turkey?
Well, I don't know which reports you're talking about, like the research reports that the research studies that we carry out, and then the information we get from that helps us decide the future avenues of work, new needs that might be coming up, new shifting topics that become more prominent. So that is also one way of looking at it, maybe the research reporting. But if you're talking about the reporting at the UN level, then it's helpful in the sense that according to the Turkish constitution, specifically Article 90, any international convention that Turkey signs has then to become, the national legislation has to then made to fit the international convention that was signed. So the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, or the Istanbul Convention. The materials, the articles here are then, the CEDAW committee says to a country, okay, so you signed this, so what have you done about this, whatever? And then the country says, oh, we did this, that, whatever. And then the NGO shadow report says, they say these things, but this is actually what's happening on the ground. So it helps maybe make the information more closer to the truth. And the NGOs that come together for these reports have increasingly increased in number through the years. And so there's lots of information, not just from the big cities like Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, but from all across Turkey, from different parts of the country. And so this helps create a much more comprehensive and in-depth look at what's really happening on the ground. And then we can use this later in Turkey as a tool to further push for getting our rights in legislation. And of course, that's not just enough. Having rights on paper is not enough. The political will is sometimes lacking for the laws to be enforced. So we have to be an agent of getting these into action, getting them enforced, and making it possible for as many people to benefit from their human rights as possible. So it's not an easy thing. It's not a very simple thing, maybe. It doesn't mean that the work is done. That's okay, here's the report, we're done. No, it's still, it requires a lot of work after that still.
Awesome. I'm hearing a lot of visibility, accountability here in your answer. Thank you. This was the answer that I think that's that was needed for that question. So one final question, maybe we can, until we can move to closure. So how can women sign up for the rights-based training programs that you provide?
These programs are currently only in Turkish, so you would have to be able to speak Turkish. You don't have to, well, to participate in these programs, you don't have to be literate. But you do have to, I mean, we don't have it in English, for example. That's something, maybe that would be more fitting here. In the eastern, southeastern parts of Turkey, the training can sometimes take on a more bilingual aspect, with participants and trainers speaking both Kurdish and Turkish as whatever the material that they're talking about is coming up. The 4 booklets that I was showing you about having, we have Right series. We've also translated those into Kurdish, so they're available on our website as well, and on our YouTube channel. I'm thinking, is there anything in English? There might be 1 or 2 things there in English, but the programs to sign up, you would have to contact us. Now, first, we would all have to wait for COVID to end, because this is not the kind of work we can do on Zoom. We can do a lot of things on Zoom, but the 16-week program, it's not just, okay, so law number 1 means this. We say law number 1s mean this, and what are your experiences with it? How have you interacted with this law? What has been its impact on you? So it becomes a very personal process. And the emotional work that goes into it is actually what makes it such a transformative program. It's not just learning. It's information, and it's also how this information affects me. It's how can I then use this information for myself, and that for that you need to be in a face-to-face setting. But the hour-long ones are going to become more available. You can follow our social media. We're in the process. It's not at a point where like, oh, we're holding you know, gender equality seminar this weekend. Join if you want to, kind of. It's more like we just very recently finished up a 8 weekends. There's an NGO called the University Graduate Women in Turkey, and we collaborated with them, and all their members and all the young women who received scholarships from them attended this, and it was just finished this last weekend. Before that, we work with municipalities. So if there is a request, we might think about how we can do this, open it up to a more public space. But at the moment, yeah, this is all I can say, I think, about that.
Thank you so much, Gülşah, for sharing, for being here, for giving your time to us. Before we wrap it up, I would like to tell you that it was in the announcement that Efruz Kaya from Pembe Hayat would be with us. Unfortunately, she couldn't attend because they're like, as an organization, they're in the phase of commemorating Sex Workers Day, so she was not able to attend and present, but we thank her too for giving us the consideration to attend this event. Now, before finalizing everything, so like round of applause, everyone, like if you can turn on your cameras to Istanbul and I and Yabancı for bringing us together. Thank you, Istanbul and I and Yabancı. And now, if you can turn on your microphones and give a huge clap to Fatma Gül, Melek, Ebrar, and Gülşah, because they've given us inspiration. They've been trailblazers, and they really gave us so much, so much to chew on tonight. Come on. Woo! And final one, and this is for all of us. If you can turn on all cameras, all microphones, a big round of applause to all women, because this is our day coming up. So it's International Women's Day. Thank you so much for attending. This was so much fun. And thank you, Tarık. Tarık is also wrote a quick note. So he will be following up with all of you via an email on the event page. And hopefully we'll be seeing each other again on the following events. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gülşah.
Good night.
Thank you.